starts with Ryan Pace, our general manager, and it just goes. I mean, it filters to everybody. We're in a great spot right now. We know we got a lot of work to go, but it's been a fun process.
Coach, what do you remember about your time as an intern and then moving up as a coach here, and even your one day playing here as your time in Philadelphia?
Yeah, that was a roller coaster of a day. I got Coach Reed brought me in and asked me if I had an agent, if I was in shape, and if I knew the playbook. And so from that day, they gave me that practice. And then Tom Hecker tapped me on my shoulder and told me I got to go back in and put the shorts on and get back to coaching. So I went from an ultimate high to an ultimate low, but it's just how life goes, and everything happens for a reason. It was a crazy day.
Did you think that something could actually, come of it?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a starter in the NFL for like the next 8 years, but it never happened.
Hey, Matt, your offensive line coach is from this area, Harry Heastan. Can you talk about how he's helped with that position and how big a help he has been?
Yeah, my defensive coordinator is too. So we got a couple East Stroudsburg guys. So no, he's been great. He's a guy that, again, he's a teacher. He knows how to teach. I know that Doug has that there with Coach Stoutland, and so these guys they know how to teach and reach these young players, and these kids are so young coming into the game, and I just love that. He's a positive guy, but yet he's hard when he needs to, and he's completely blue collar and does things the right way, and we're lucky to have him.
And what he did at Notre Dame, was that one of the reasons you decided to go after him?
That's not the only reason. I mean, I respected what he was doing there, but you always talk to people, and in this business, as in anything, it's all about relationships and people that you trust and referrals and recommendations. And anybody that you ever talk to that talks about Coach Heastan, they have nothing but great things to say about him.
Matt, what was your approach with Mitchell Trubisky, and what kind of progress have you seen this year?
He's my approach with him coming into this year was just for him to know that it's going to take a little time. We're going to learn together. I'm going to learn how he plays, and he'll learn how I coach, and so there's going to be some rough patches, and we went through those, and there'll be plenty ahead of us here in the future. But he's done a great job at handling everything. He's harder on himself than anybody, and we appreciate that. But yeah, we want him to let him know that we want to help him look at the next play mentality, and he's done a great. I think that's been probably his biggest improvement this year, is just the next play mentality.
Hey, Coach, on Monday when you were talking about your connectivity to Doug Pederson, you mentioned how you remember watching tape of Nick Foles back in your early days on the Eagles coaching staff. And, to see how you guys drafted him, and to see how you came about to reconnect with him in Kansas City, and to see what Foles became this past calendar year, how does it feel to know that you played a part in that?
Well, it's awesome. And it just it goes to show, like, the experiences that you get throughout this business. We're so judged, even as coaches, on the players that you think are going to pan out and play well and do good things in this league, and you don't hit on all of them. But again, I can remember going back to the exact day that me, Doug, and Coach Reed were together, and just looking at film on them, and now to go full circle, here we are, however many years, 7-8 years later, and to see the careers and it was a roller coaster for Nick too. I mean, he hit a low, and for us to be able to be there for him and be a part of that, and now to see where he's come from and what he's done. But he's, as you guys know, he's as good of a person as there is, and you appreciate that.
Matt, what do you remember about that scene and what you guys were saying as you were going over the film of Nick?
Well, I can remember Coach Reed was Doug and I were looking at some quarterbacks. It was early in the morning. We were in Doug's office looking at some quarterbacks, and I'm not going to say who, but we were looking at a couple. And Coach Reed, he walked on in and told Doug, because Doug was at the time getting ready to go look at some guys. He said, "Go ahead and divert your flight to Arizona. You're going to go see this Nick Foles kid," and that's what happened. And you can see where it went from there.
Matt, you and Doug are part of a pretty impressive coaching tree from Andy. What did you learn when you think of your time with Andy? What did you learn from him that most prepared you for this opportunity?
So Coach is a guy that is persistent with details. He's not a guy that just he talks about it every now and then, he teaches you. Even as a coach, I think one of the biggest things that I'm learning here in my first year is that he taught me things indirectly without me even knowing that he was teaching me something. And so what happens is I just kind of instinctively went back to knowing, oh yeah, this is how I need to do it, or oh yeah, this is what I should do. And it's not one of those deals that I just went and wrote it down and said, okay, when I get an opportunity, I'm going to do this. It's just because you're trained under him, you know how to handle certain situations, whatever it is, off the field problems, on the field problems, any issues with anybody. And I think that's Coach's greatest attribute that sometimes gets overlooked, is the fact that whatever it is, any situation, he's great at handling. Whether it's a really good situation, he knows how to handle that, or whether it's a tough situation, he knows how to handle that with everybody. And so he deals with so many different personalities, and he's a master at all those.
Hey, Matt, in last week's game, why did you play your starters throughout the game, even when the Rams built the lead? And did you consider who the opponent would be the following week?
No, the opponent deal, your second part of the question, there was just too many scenarios and what ifs, and this team and that team, and meaning, whether it's an offensive thing, a defensive thing, a special teams thing, a coach thing, and none of that. It's so easy to coach when you coach to win, and when you start getting into all these other variables of you want to do this, then your guys aren't gonna play because there's reservations in how they're doing it, and we weren't going to do that, and so that's the approach we took, and it got a little. In the fourth quarter is probably when it was the most difficult as far as decision making goes, just because there is that balance of, okay, you have a 14-point lead, there's 7 minutes to go. Our defense has done a great job all game of doing, shutting them down on offense, but yet there's that fine line of what if you get a guy hurt, now all of a sudden you didn't need it, you did it. So I like how we handled it, and it wasn't just one person, it was everybody, and I feel like it prepared me for if I ever get in that situation again.
Hey, Matt, can you describe what you've seen in the development of the Eagles' running game over the past few weeks, or whatever you've watched on tape of them?
Yeah, I think that Deuce and Doug and everybody there has done a good job. It doesn't really matter who you have or who they have. They just put in the next guy and give that guy an opportunity to carry the ball and get positive runs, whether it's an RPO or whether it's a ground and pound type run. And so that just speaks volumes of who those guys are as coaches, and it doesn't surprise me at all.
Matt, what has jumped out at you, Matt, as you watch the Eagles' defense?
They're everyone always talks about the front four. They're dominant. They're those. First of all, with Brandon and with Fletcher, I know them both personally from being there when we drafted them, and then. You put the other guys on the defense together, and I think that Coach Schwartz does a really good job schematically of just letting his players really magnify their strengths that they have, and in any weaknesses, I think he does a great job at making sure that the players are protected and by scheming them. And so that front four now, I mean, they're getting after you. They get pressure on you without blitzing, and then when they do blitz, it's even more difficult. So, just lots of respect for the players and lots of respect for Coach Schwartz, how he does things. I think he has a great defensive scheme.
Hey Matt, this is Kevin Treslini, by the way. Do you feel Tubby?
Kevin.
How you doing? Do you feel Tubby Raymond's influence at all these days as a coach? And are there any wing T wrinkles in what you guys are doing?
Well, there's a couple here or there that you see. I think it's I like the wing T stuff. I didn't really do a whole lot of it when I was at Delaware just because I was too slow, so we tried to throw the ball. But it is good stuff, and I think with Coach Raymond, I think more than anything, he just gives you an ability to again let you play fast by not doing a whole lot and just being good at the techniques of stuff. I mean, that's the one biggest thing I take away from Coach Raymond was we just did the same stuff over and over every day, every week.
Hey, man, if I could take you back to that one day as an Eagles coach, again, from what I recall, it was a 2-minute drill day. Is that correct? And how'd you do?
Talk about the pick I threw.
Apparently, you drove him down pretty quickly, and Doug even said maybe you You checked to a Q9?
Yeah, I checked the Q9, but listen, we didn't have Q. So at that time, Mike McGlynn and a couple of the guys on the line, they looked. I went Q9, and we only went Q8 at the time to the right. And so they looked back at me like, "What in the hell are you saying?" But it's Q9. We're going to the left, and so we did it, and it kind of shocked them. That was a little funny story to that day.
If I also recall, you actually went ahead and bought a bunch of tickets for family and friends, and we're was a little disappointed. Right? Is that fair?
Yeah, they were. I mean, we were going to have like 200, 300 people from Eastern PA and from Lancaster. They were fired up. They already had like homemade jerseys ready to go, and I mean, it was awesome. And then the NFL nixed it, and then I was like crushed. So had to rebound, and then. But you know what? It's probably good that it happened because it made Coach know who I was, and we've kind of started our relationship getting close after that.
Hey Matt, what's your best Doug Pederson story?
I got a lot, man. I got so many Doug Pederson stories, but he's such a, usually most of it is when I think of Doug is either golf, of us being out there golfing, or probably just him being able to at nighttime when we're drawing cards and it's like 9, 10 o'clock at night, we take a little breather and we go downstairs to the cafeteria there at the NovaCare, and he'd always destroy the vanilla soft ice cream server. He'd fill that bad boy up and then put a bunch of rainbow sprinkles on top of it and just devour it. So that's he can crush food.
You guys must have developed a pretty tight relationship. I mean, you were connected, for many years, and it seemed like every time he went, got elevated, you were in that spot right behind him.
Yeah, it was, and that's to me that's been pretty cool. To come in as an assistant when Doug was a QC, and then to keep following him, and it just goes to show too how Coach Reed does things. He builds from the ground up. He builds organically, and I love that about Coach. I think that he tries to teach his people that come in, no matter where you start. He wants to teach you how to do it, and then groom you to be able to take advantage of these opportunities that Doug and I both have. And I believe in that. And it's Coach Reed. It starts there. He trusts you as a person. You build loyalty through him, and then he takes care of you. And that's what he did to both Doug and I. And now we're trying to do that and pay guys back by doing the same type of thing.
To follow up on that, how significant is it for you that your first playoff experience as an NFL head coach is against a good pal like Doug, who you have a tremendous history with, and is also against a team that you're very familiar with because of being from Lancaster and working for the team and so on and so forth?
Yeah, it is ironic. I agree with that, but it makes it neat just because obviously whether you talk about the schematically with the offenses, or you talk about just the relationship that Doug and I have had together working under Coach. It's ironic. Without a doubt it's ironic. And then being from Pennsylvania my entire life and all of the Philadelphia Eagles fans, and my phone, was blowing up after our win in Minnesota, and it's all in good fun, and I know how passionate the Eagles fans are, and it'll be a fun day, and we're going to both compete our tails off as coaches, but in the end, there'll be a great hug and handshake and a respect factor.
Hey Matt, I know how much you enjoyed calling Bilal Nichols to tell him that you guys had drafted him last spring. How has he lived up to what you guys saw in him, and what has been his value to the team as a rookie?
Yeah, he's I'll tell you what, he's been very, very impressive. He's extremely mature for his age, and the way he's come in here and handled the situation, learning from guys like Akeem Hicks and Eddie Goldman on how to play the position and how to be a pro. He's just all business, and I love that about him. He's growing every week. He's not making the same mistake twice. He's a great kid, and I think we got an absolute steal with him.
Now, you mentioned watching Nick Foles way back when he was in college. What popped out about him back then, and do you still see some of those things when you watch him today?
You could tell he's a massive individual. So when I say that, I mean you could tell long arms, huge hands, big feet. Can hose the ball, can throw it, however far he wants to throw it. He can see over the pocket. he's sneaky athletic. You can sit there and say he doesn't have a fast twitch muscle in his body, but he knows how to break tackles. He's very, very instinctual, and I say that fast twitch muscle part with tongue in cheek because he's a unbelievable athlete and probably the best basketball player on the team. But you can just see that and you feel it, and you saw right away that they did a lot of gun, there when he was at Arizona and ball out quick, but he learned things right away.
Matt, how much does momentum mean going into the playoffs? Like, the Eagles obviously won 5 out of 6. You guys 9 out of 10. I mean, does it matter?
It helps out as a coach just because your guys, you're winning, and that's what you want to do. It all depends, I think, how the season was going for you, and then how everybody always talks about you want to be hitting your peak towards the end of the season, and that's obviously what Philadelphia is doing. And Doug's done a great job of keeping those guys going, and has done an amazing job of getting them in. So you definitely want to be doing that and not be on any type of losing streak and sneak, and just backdooring your way in. So I think both of us are in good spots right now. Both teams feel confident, and it'll be a good game.
Matt, how has Trey Burton handled having a starting role and a pretty big role in your offense?
He's done a great job. You never know how that's going to go. In Kansas City, we had with Travis Kelce, you're looking at a guy that was on the field for about 85 to 92% of the offensive snaps of the season, whereas Trey in Philadelphia was more in that 30% range. So bringing him here to give him a lot more snaps was going to be the biggest question, was how could he handle it? And he's completely exceeded expectations with that. He's done everything that we've asked of him. I talk to a lot of people about him, and you hear about how great of a person he is, a player, et cetera, but he's been that and more, and we're really lucky to have him.
And Matt, as you've looked at Cohen throughout the year, have you looked at the way Sproles has been used throughout his career and tried to at least model that or emulate that in any way?
Yeah, there's been I think that's a great analogy for him. There's several guys throughout this league, and they all have a little bit of their own twist to each other, but that's a good comparison for Tariq. He's I don't know Darren personally. I just know people that have played with him and coaches and players and speak the world of him. But no, they're similar. And those guys are fun to have because they can run the ball between the tackles, but they can go out and run pass routes too.